The consensus is crumbling. Extraordinary scenes of a man on a train refusing to wear a face mask have circulated online in the last 24 hours. Notwithstanding the details of that case, it's pretty clear that when it comes to policing this mask rule, the authorities have lost the plot. Because do you know why? They have no authority. How can you have authority when so many people are flouting the face mask rule, and when the science around face masks is so divided? Dr. Jenny Harries, herself Deputy Chief Medical Officer for England, someone of whom I'm a huge fan because she's always honest and she's not part of this government groupthink, she said last weekend there is no strong evidence either way on whether masks work. And if people do follow the rulings on face masks, such as on a flight, if you want to have a sandwich or a coffee, you're allowed to take the mask off. Eh? I beg your pardon? Yes, indeed. Why is it that face masks are a case of life and death, apart from those few minutes when you're having a ham and cheese toastie or a hot chocolate? How does that make any sense? There are double standards everywhere, which is why people are confused and increasingly angry. If you go into your local convenience store, for example, not dressed up like a pound shop Darth Vader, you feel like a common criminal. But then you can spend all night long, cheek by jowl with drinkers of the Wetherspoons, happily mask-free. How does that make sense? No wonder people are beginning to rebel, because the inconsistent mask message makes no sense. It's clearly quackery. It's window dressing. It's an absurd charade. And many of you are no longer playing the game. And frankly, why should you? This isn't a scientific poll, but as I've gone about my business in the last few days, I'd observed that at least 20, maybe 30% of people are now not bothering with masks. And a good many others are wearing them incorrectly, like on their chin, which I call that the Abraham Lincoln, right? The little goatee mask. Many others under their nose, which, of course, in terms of the spread of the virus, completely useless. But it keeps the mask police happy because you're showing compliance. And that's what this is all about. Of course, there are some people who love the masks, the mini dictators among us, who love the coercion, the bullying, the control. They're addicted to it. They're getting high on the power. Because frankly, folks, wearing a mask is the new woke. That's where we're at. It is state-sponsored virtue signalling on a grand scale. The mask obsessives are the COVID cowards who would happily see every last industry close down and every last job disappear until we reach a state of COVID zero, which sounds like a soft drink, but is a crazy aspiration to eliminate COVID altogether. Folks, it ain't happening. If it were to happen, there of course would be no country left at the end of it. Now, we were not stupid when the initial government advice at the beginning of the pandemic came out. The advice was to stay home and save lives. We got it. We also got it when we were told to stay alert in May. But we're now being taken for fools, and many people are rebelling. But obviously, you mustn't take to the streets to demonstrate, because like Piers Corbyn, a rare member of the Corbyn family I agree with, you'll be saddled with a 10,000 quid fine for your pleasure. We are told that masks are there for reassurance. Did you know that? Apparently that is the most compelling argument for masks is reassurance. Well, I'm not very reassured by the prospect of £2 trillion worth of national debt. I'm not very reassured by a forthcoming tsunami of unemployment and a health epidemic for the thousands of people still scandalously not treated for other conditions and illnesses. And here's why I have reached the end of the line with masks, because they are a barrier to our recovery. Of course, by all means, wear one if you feel more safe and comfortable. No problem with that at all. But as long as masks remain mandatory with no compelling science to back them up, I believe that this country can never fully recover. That's right, masks are a barrier to our recovery, our return to normal. Masks have become a symbol not of protection, but of trepidation, of caution, and of irrational fear. And they are an advert to stay afraid. Let's be clear. With thousands of people openly flouting the rules, the government have definitely lost the dressing room on this one. That number of disaffected people will only grow, mark my words. Civil disobedience is sadly inevitable. And I say that with a heavy heart because our brilliant society has its foundations in the rule of law. But it's time for the government to recalibrate its response to COVID-19. A nasty virus, yes, that we all hate, absolutely. But one for whom the medicine is now killing the patient. The damage to our country from COVID measures is now a clear and present danger, not only to our way of life and our jobs, but to many thousands of lives too. If you want to save lives and get the country back on track, the only option is to get back to normal. And the first step to achieving that is to get rid of these wretched, god-awful, damned, blinking, uncomfortable, scientifically empty, useless masks. This is Talk Radio.